Nothing But the Words, episode number 49, The Truth About Self-Publishing.
Welcome to Nothing But the Words, the podcast that gives you everything you need to know to write a phenomenal book. Now here's your host, your author coach, Candace L. Davis.
Hey there, and welcome to Nothing But the Words. I'm your author coach, Candace L. Davis. Recently, I have been having a lot of conversations about traditional publishing versus self-publishing. It's the beginning of a new year, and as you can imagine, many people have set a goal to write a book before the end of 2021. They want to make sure they're choosing the right path for publishing their book. One of my coaching clients recently, at the end of 2020, landed a traditional book deal, and another decided to switch gears. She just decided recently not to self-publish her second book. She's going to pursue a traditional book deal instead. She had planned to self-publish. She rethought it. She looked at her platform and realized she's well positioned to go after a traditional deal, and she'd like to do it. So we are focused on that this year. In this episode, however, I want to bust some of the myths about self-publishing. In next week's episode, I'll do the same. I'll give you the inside scoop for traditional publishing. Let me just tell you off the bat that I am a fan of both avenues. They each have their place depending on who you are, what your experience and platform look like, what you're writing, who you know, and a host of other factors. But here's the deal. For most authors, self-publishing is the most accessible route to getting your book published and into the hands of readers. You don't need anyone's permission to self-publish. You don't need to find an agent willing to choose you. You don't need to wait for a book deal. So if getting your book out in a reasonably short time frame is super important to you, if that's one of your priorities, self-publishing might be the way for you to go. If you're not interested in going through the process to secure an agent, self-publishing might be the way for you to go. If you have gone after the traditional publishing process and it hasn't worked out for you yet, self-publishing might be the way for you to go at this point in time. So let's start with our first truth about self-publishing. Truth number one, self-publishing does not mean doing it all by yourself. In my program for nonfiction writers, I teach my clients to work with a team of professionals to self-publish their books. Sometimes I actually wish we called the process independent publishing rather than self-publishing. That's closer to the true nature of what we refer to as self-publishing. Look at independent filmmakers. They might do a lot of different jobs on a given project, but they don't try to do every job on a film. No one expects them to. In the same way, an author who self-publishes needs to have a team. You need to hire an editor. You need a layout designer and a cover designer. You need a distributor and a printer. It takes a real village, a paid village, to publish a phenomenal book. So know that you cannot do it all. Truth number two about self-publishing. Many talented and successful authors choose to self-publish some or all of their books. While my background is in literary fiction, and it will always be my first love, I also read in different genres, including science fiction and even crime fiction. Now, when Amazon first started publishing Kindle ebooks and print-on-demand books, several authors in these genres jumped on board, even though they'd had book deals for years. They started self-publishing some or all of their work. This gave them the freedom to publish more often, write what they wanted to write without getting a publisher's approval, and even try out new genres. Some published under their own name, some published under pen names. Today, there are talented and successful authors who self-publish all kinds of books, including children's books, novels, YA fiction, personal development, middle grades books, professional development, and more. Truth number three, self-publishing is not easier than traditional publishing. It's just different. When you self-publish, you are in charge of and therefore responsible for every detail. You have to go out and find those professionals who will help you make your book the best it can be. You have to do your due diligence and vet any publishing services company before you give them one dime of your money. You have to work closely with your designer to come up with a cover that represents your book and you. You have to take care of copyright and make decisions about distribution. None of this work is outside of your ability, so don't let the thought overwhelm you. It's really just a checklist. You go down the checklist and make sure each thing is taken care of. But make no mistake, it is work. And at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. Now, truth number 4 is that self-publishing is also not harder than traditional publishing. Once again, it's just different. Yes, when you publish traditionally, your publisher comes with a team. You likely will work with an acquisitions editor, who's the person who will make the decision to buy your book, a copy editor, a proofreader, and a designer somewhere along the way. You may also get to work with a marketing team. So all that sounds great. You have all that help at your disposal. But understand that most authors do substantial work just to get that book deal. They spend months or even more likely years building their platforms to a size that publishers will value. They invest weeks or months in researching agents. They write query letter after query letter, and if their book is nonfiction, they will usually need to write a 30 or 40 or 50-page book proposal before they even get anywhere close to a deal or to writing their book. That is substantial work. And many authors don't want to believe it, but traditional publishing does not let you off the hook when it comes to marketing your book. In fact, in most cases, a traditional publisher will want to know how you plan to market your book before they consider giving you a deal. At the very least, they'd like to know that you're on board and ready to do some of the work of marketing your book. So both paths, traditional publishing and self-publishing, require you to invest your effort. Self-publishing is not harder or easier than traditional publishing. It's just different. And finally, truth number 5, self-publishing is a business. You will need to invest money in your business. You'll need to create a budget for your business because all those professionals involved need to get paid. It doesn't mean you have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, but you do need to plan for what you will spend. You'll need a marketing plan for how you'll get your book in front of the right readers. You'll also need to protect your intellectual property. Let's talk about that. There are 2 easy ways to do that you should keep in mind. One is to register your copyright at copyright.gov. The other is to make sure you own your ISBNs. I'm throwing this in here because I keep hearing so many people talking about the fact that they've self-published their book, they paid a publishing services company, and then I found out that company owns the ISBN associated with their book. They should not. You should own your ISBN. You can purchase them at Bowker.com. I normally recommend authors spring for the pack of 10. It comes out much cheaper in the end. Do not use Amazon's ISBNs to publish your book. Do not use anyone else's, only your own. And don't work with a publishing services company, even if they call themselves a publisher. If you're paying them, they're a publishing services company. If they're going to use their own ISBNs to publish your book, don't work with them. The ISBN is just the number you see that is associated uniquely with your book. You see it with the barcode on the back of the book, and it's how booksellers and libraries identify your book. So self-publishing is a business. You'll have to ask the right questions before you spend your money, and you want to get the right answers or go and work with someone else. Even if you don't consider yourself an entrepreneur yet, your book is a product and you have to be willing to sell it. That means you have a business. Maybe it's a micro business, but it's a business nonetheless. I encourage you to treat your book accordingly. Not necessarily while you're writing. You don't want to spend your writing sessions thinking about the business side of this. But as you plan your self-publishing process and your marketing process, you really do want to be thinking of this as a business. You can write and self-publish a phenomenal book if that's the right path for you. Know that you don't have to and you shouldn't do it alone. Keep in mind that you are in very good company when you self-publish because many respected authors have chosen this route. Do not expect the process to be easier or harder than traditional publishing. It's just different. Expect it to be work and accept it for what it is. And treat your self-publishing process, not your writing process, like a business. Be willing to invest both time and money as you would in any business, and then protect your investment. That's all for this episode. If you found it valuable and you're planning to write a nonfiction book, I invite you to download my free guide to jumpstart your book at CandiceLDavis.com/jumpstart. Thanks for listening to Nothing But the Words. I'm your author coach, Candace L. Davis, and I'll see you next time.